one of the very important characteristics of Steve is his understanding of the value of community.
So we found that investing in Idaho and finding talent in Idaho is possible. One of the things that's a great advantage, particularly in Coeur d'Alene, is it's such a wonderful place to live. And so there are talented people from urban areas who want to leave and bring their families to more of a small town environment.
The concept of combining those lifestyle amenities with the opportunities to build a business with the technical resources is an interesting one. He's always found that it was a compelling case. There wasn't the competitive environment here. It was an opportunity to be an entrepreneur with access to those resources without pressures and some of the competition for them. And it was an easy opportunity to recruit engineering and other kinds of innovative talent here. People found this as a unique opportunity to have that combination of lifestyle in addition to having a career at some of these smaller companies that we've been starting up in Idaho.
Steve probably deserves to be in a lot of halls of fame. And one would be Idaho in general, because he and Judy have contributed and continue to contribute so much to this state in the world of technology, in the world of business, in the world of innovation, in the world of real estate, in the world of historic preservation, in economic development, in cultural development.
Steve's really passionate about, does the small town in North Idaho have access to the same resources as we do here? How can we make sure that Hope and Sagal and Bonners Ferry and Rathdrum and the Silver Valley have the same sort of access to technology so that they can accomplish what we're doing here in town, where it's a lot easier to get to.
The community to Steve is very important, and we're not talking just the local community. He is, I'm sure, broader than even the state of Idaho. His community involvement and Judy's community involvement is really legendary. I mean, they have been involved in so many different projects.
As time evolved, it began to occur to my wife and I that we could make a difference in the character of our community and what it represented to live there. So we got engaged in mostly small organizations trying to work on community affairs. Sometimes they had to do with city or community planning, sometimes they had to do with social issues in the community.
To my recollection, my dad's always been an innovator. He's always interested in tinkering with different things and particularly taking things apart, understanding how they work and understanding ways that you might tweak it to make it a little better, a little more efficient. He's really interested in innovating elegant solutions to complex problems.
Innovation is in Steve's DNA. It truly is. And our days can be intense in that they're long, but there is always creativity, questioning, what about this, what about that? What if we do this? How about if we do that? And at the same time applying discipline.
What I've learned about him and being able to mentor under him is that he is extremely creative and innovative in his thought. Most recently, he played a large hand in our acquisition, NIC Foundation's acquisition of property adjacent to the main North Idaho College campus, which people refer to as the Education Corridor. That legacy, that acquisition of property will allow North Idaho College for the next 100 plus years to meet the educational needs of Northern Idaho for generations to come, for forever.
He likes detail. He likes to think about those details, and he'll grind on them until he feels comfortable with a solution that he believes will be effective in whatever he's doing.
I like details when trying to understand a problem because usually the solution lies in those details, and it's so easy, particularly when the problem is complex, to gloss over all of the pieces of the solution. So I've found, at least the way I have enjoyed working, that dealing with those details is satisfying and becomes essential to the final solution.
Whether it's in the world of technology, economics, culture, the social world, real estate, down to very small details like how does a pump work. You know, it's the curiosity is ever present. It's really a delight, and I learn a lot from being around Steve.
You'll have a few nights where you'll think about something and eventually get to a position where he's comfortable with it. And then if he's comfortable with it, then he's able to make decisions and move forward. If those are tough decisions, I think that thinking, that detail that he begins to work on translates into then good decision making and something that he's comfortable with. Even if it's difficult, he's able to do that.
You'll find a person of such great accomplishment and vision, but one of such amazing humility.
I recall a story as a kid that my older brother, Drew, and I were asking questions about his early career stages and realized that he held patents on certain keyboard technologies. And he was such a humble man, he'd never thought that that was something worth mentioning or talking to us about. And my brother, to his credit, did the research, found the original patent documents and framed them and hung them on the wall for Dad. And he just never felt like those kinds of accomplishments, which are tremendously successful, merited any mention.
You know, you really can't be a strong leader if you don't have a high level of integrity. And Steve personifies integrity to its fullest, because people trust him, he's honest, he's going to tell you what he sees, and he's not going to beat around the bush.
I've had the great opportunity to deal with a lot of different types of people in my life. And what's most interesting to me about Steve is he is as even keel a person. Success is met with excitement and enthusiasm, and defeat is met with, well, shucks. How are we going to get on to that next piece? Inevitably, people like to talk about themselves. Most people like to talk about themselves more than they do somebody else. And so people walk away from meeting Steve and say, what a nice guy, what a good guy. And at the end of the day, he's just let you tell your story, and that's really an important part of, I think, who he is.
I would say that Steve is warm, he's extremely thoughtful, he's a strategic thinker, he's very kind, humble, and very persistent. And his work ethic is incredible.
I think life's way too short to sacrifice integrity in any aspect of your life and your business. And keeping a set of values which is true to how you really believe is also important. And it works for your business colleagues, and it works for your customers, it works for your lenders or shareholders, and it works for your family.
I just think that if you study the background of Steve Meyer, for those young people that are looking for kind of a role model, you know, Steve Meyer would be is the epitome of a great role model. It's about how you use your resources that I think is a great role model for Steve. You know, his resources include mentoring. He loves to work with young people, and I think that young people should identify with that and realize that there are people out there like Steve Meyer that like to help them with what their education is, or if they're starting a business, or whatever they're thinking about doing. You turn to somebody like Steve and Judy, and you're going to get some really good help.
Every month at our board meetings, we have a student come in and talk about what does the scholarship mean to he or she. And Steve introduced our student last month, and you could just see the joy that he took in this young man who's in his mid-20s, who has overcome his upbringing to be pursuing a degree in petroleum engineering because he wants to make a greater impact on this world. And Steve's joy in introducing him, and you can see in the smile in his face and the tone of his voice how proud that makes him to be a part of that. And so it's a privilege for me to get to see that side of Steve Meyer.
When thinking about advice to give to ambitious entrepreneurs, I think one of the most useful things I can suggest is the notion of strategic thinking and persistence. It's just really important for people who are committed to an idea or a concept to be thorough about continuing to revisit their what they believe to be fundamentally correct, to be courageous enough to think outside of the box, to try to be strategic about where you are and where you want to be, and make plans to get there in a methodical and timely way. But by far the most important characteristic, I think, is the stick-to-itiveness, the persistence to get there. And I would suggest that if people have good concepts and have the right kind of management talent and the right kind of financial posture, that persistence usually wins the day.